pastor came to the prison at the 7 every week. Started up a choir for the hard men and the meek. There's a man named Tyrone with a sentence 20 long. He said, preacher, I don't sing, sir, I done too much wrong. The pastor put a hymnal in his rough and shaking hand. Said, son, the Lord don't grade the voice, he grades the man. Said, you stand in the back row, you just move your lips along, and somewhere in the moving you'll remember you belong. Some walls can't hold a song,
some voices right the wrong.
He said, why you bring music to a man like me? I said, Tyrone, every soul deserves a melody. He said, you sing it from the cell block,
sing it loud and true.
The Lord can hear the bars right through. Oh, that's the cell block choir.
That's the cell block choir.
Lifting them higher.
That's the cell block choir.
Tyrone found his voice in the basement, painted gray. Baritone that rumble like a freight at break of day. The men, they sang together, the killers and the thieves, a harmony of broken men who found they could believe. He said, preacher, this is the first time in 11 years that I felt like something more than just the sum of all my fears. The pastor smiled and nodded, said, now you understand. A choir made of cell blocks is the rebuilding of a man. Some walls can't hold a song,
some voices right the wrong.
He said, why you bring music to a man like me? I said, Tyrone, every soul deserves a melody. He said, you sing it from the cell block,
sing it loud and true.
The Lord can hear the bars right through. That's the cell block
choir. That's the cell block choir.
Lifting them higher.
That's the cell block choir.
One hymn, one cell, one voice, rang well,
one band,
stood new. Tyrone got his parole at the 1:30. Walked out singing softly to the rising sun. He found a church that wanted a baritone so deep. Now he leads the choir for the congregation's keep. And every other Saturday he goes back through the gate to stand among the prisoners and sing away the weight. He tells them what the pastor told him in the basement grade. A choir made of cell blocks lifts the broken into day.
He said, why you bring music to a man like me?
I said, Tyrone, every soul deserves a melody. Said, just sing it from the cell block,
Sing it loud and true.
the Lord can hear the bars right through. Oh, that's the cell block
Choir. That's the cell block choir.
lifting them higher.
That's the cell block choir.
The pastor passed, but Tyrone took the call.
Goes back through the prison's iron wall.
Hands the hymnals to the broken, lifts them higher.
Forever leading on the cell block choir.
Mountain wouldn't shine. He come up at the 6:15 with his face all black as night, whistling a hymn that made the darkness feel like light. I said, Daddy, why you singing when your lungs are full cold of stone. He said, son, a man sings loudest when the dark is all he's known. Said the cold, it takes my breathing, but it never took my song. A hymn down in the hollow is the thing that keeps me strong. Some men sing through the dust. Some hymns are made of trust. I said, Daddy, come on home now, let the deep scene be. I said, son, this cold, it fed your mama, set you free, set you free. Said, I'll sing it through the black lung till my time is gone, till my time is gone. A cold dust hymn will carry on, and that's a cold dust hymn. That's a cold dust hymn. Light in the dim. That's a cold dust hymn. The black lung took my daddy in the winter of his years, sitting by the window singing soft between the tears. He said, son, don't go down in the mine, you take the books instead, but carry on the hymn, boy, the one your daddy bred. I held his hand and sang it as the breathing came undone. The hymn that lit the holler when the dark had blocked the sun. He crossed over singing on a Tuesday at the dawn. A miner and his music and a melody passed on. Some men sing through the dust. Some hymns are made of trust. I said, Daddy, come on home now, let the deep scene be. I said, son, this cold, it fed your mama, set you free, set you free. Said, I'll sing it through the black lung till my time is gone, till my time is gone. A cold dust hymn will carry on. That's a cold dust hymn. That's a cold dust hymn. Light in the dim. That's a cold dust hymn. One scene, one song, one song, one dad sang strong, one hymn lives on. I took my daddy's wishes and I took the books to heart. Got out of the holler, but I never lost the part. That hymn he sang in the darkness, I carried it to town. Sang it to my children when the troubles weighed them down. Now my own boy hums it though he's never seen a mine. A melody from a grandpa down in holler. Number 9, we sing it every Sunday like a candle in the black. A cold dust hymn that lights the way and never wanders back. I said, Daddy, come on home now, let the deep scene be. I said, son, it's cold, it fed your mama, set you free, set you free. Said, I'll sing it through the black lung till my time is gone, till my time is gone. A cold dust hymn will carry on. And that's a cold dust hymn. That's a cold dust hymn. Light in the dim. That's a cold dust hymn. The mind closed down and the holler's gray, but the hymn my daddy sang still lights the way for generations, singing through the grim, carrying on the cold dust hymn. Oh yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah. I was walking home from work at the 6:15. Coldest night of winter that the town had ever seen. There's a man beneath the overpass with newspaper for a bed. Old field jacket on him and the frost upon his head. He said, evening sir, don't worry, I ain't asking you for much. I just said it's bitter cold tonight and felt the freezing touch. Saw the patch upon his jacket, said the unit and the war. A soldier in the gutter that the country left so poor. Someone few give away. Some coats can't wait a day. Oh, he's said, mister, keep your coat, you got a ways to roam. I said, brother, you serve harder, take it, you're more cold than home. Said, I walk the 4 blocks shivering, I'll be alright, I'll be alright. You take the coat off my back tonight. That's the coat off my back, that's the coat off my back. A warmth you don't lack, that's the coat off my back. I draped it around his shoulders and I sat down for a spell. I heard him tell her brothers in the desert and the hell. He come home to nothing, lost his footing and his kin. 20 years of sleeping where the cold rolls in. I said, you got a name, soldier? He said, they call me Gray. I said, well, listen here, Gray, you ain't sleeping here today. Walked into the shelter that I knew across the line, gave him all my pocket cash, said, keep this brother fine. Some warmth you give away, give away. Some coats can't wait a day. He said, mister, keep your coat, you got a ways to roam. I said, brother, you serve harder, take it, you're more cold than home. Said, I walk the 4 blocks shivering, I'll be alright, I'll be alright. You take the coat off my back tonight. That's the coat on my back, that's the coat on my back. A warmth you don't lack, that's the coat off my back. One coat, one man, one night, new plan, one bag, came back, came back, came back, came back, came back. I checked on Gray that springtime and the shelter said he'd grown. Got into a program, got a room to call his own. He found me at my workplace with the coat all clean and pressed. Said, I wanna give it back now, I'm no longer so distressed. I said, you keep it rough, but I'm glad you're standing tall. He said, you gave me more than a coat, you gave me back it all. Now Gray works the shelter where I left him years ago, handing coats to the freezing, the only warmth they know. He said, mister, keep your coat, you got a ways to roam. I said, brother, you serve harder, take it, you're more cold than home. Said, I walk the 4 blocks shivering, I'll be alright, I'll be alright. You take the coat off my back tonight. That's the coat off my back, the coat off my back. Woo. A warmth you don't lack, that's the coat off my back. Gray still at the shelter, gray and proud, handing coats to the cold-bitten crowd. Tells them all the story of the kindness track. A soldier saved by a coat off my back. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Roberto at the counter at the 505. Empty little diner, barely keeping it alive. Came a girl in from the cold, couldn't be 16. Backpack and a black eye in her face, washed clean or green. She said, ma'am, I got no money, can I just sit a while? Roberta poured her coffee, gave the saddest girl a smile. Said, just sit right here, baby, you order what you please, or run away at dawn in a woman on her knees. Some diners save a life, save a life. Some dawns cut through the strife. She said, why you feeding me? I can't pay you a thing. I said, baby, every lost child's worth a song I sing. Said, you eat your fill and tell me what you're running from. A safe warm booth till the morning comes. At the diner at dawn, at the diner at dawn. A new place to belong. At the diner at dawn. Turned out little Crystal ran from her daddy's heavy hands, slept in bus stops, ate from trash. No roof in all the land. Roberta, she had been that girl in the long ago. Knew the kind of running that the bruised and broken know. She said you can't go back there, but you can't stay on the street. She called a friend who took in girls and gave them food to eat. Drove her there at the 7, held her hand away. A woman holds the child that nobody would stay. Some diners save a life, save a life. Some dawns cut through the strife. She said, why you feeding me? Can't pay you a thing. I can't pay you a thing. I said, baby, have you lost child? Worth the song I sing. Said you eat your fill and tell me what you're running from. A safe warm booth till the morning comes. Oh, at the diner at dawn. At the diner at dawn. A new place to belong. At the diner at dawn. One booth, one girl, one dawn. New world, one hand. One booth, one girl, one dawn. New world, one hand. Hey, Crystal, she got safe and she finished up her school. Wrote Roberta letters, kept the woman as a jewel. Said you didn't just feed me, you believed I had a chance. You gave a throwaway girl a whole second glance. Years went by and Crystal came back in a county car. A social worker now who finds a runaway so far. She sat down at the counter where Roberta used to stand, and she ordered up the special for a new girl, shaking hands. She said, why you feeding me? Pay you a thing. I can't pay you a thing. Said, baby, every lost child's worth the song I sing. Said you eat your fill and tell me what you're running from. A safe warm booth till the morning comes. Oh, at the diner at dawn. At the diner at dawn. A new place to belong. The diner at dawn. Oh, Roberta passed and Crystal bought the place. Keeps a boot for the runaways to find some grace. Free coffee for the lost ones. Every drawn out yawn. Forever open like the diner at dawn. Miss Lady caught the babies in the county for years. 40 years of hollering and the joy behind the tears. Got a call at the 3 in the morning, a girl in awful need. No husband and no money and a baby bound to lead. She said, Miss Lady, please come, I got nothing I can pay. Lady grabbed a warm black bag, said, child, I'm on my way. Drove the dark dirt roads to a shack out on the line. A frightened girl in labor at the rough and lonesome time. Some hands bring life for free. Some midwives hold the key. She said, how can I pay you for the bringing of my child? I said, baby, just you hold him, that's the only fee I found. Said I catch him safe and easy, breathe him in today. A new life, don't carry no pain. That's the midwife's hands, that's the midwife's hands. Love that withstands, that's the midwife's hands. Let it work till dawn, broke through the cracks in the wall. Caught a hollering baby boy and she heard the angels call. She washed him and she wrapped him and she laid him on the chest of a girl who'd had no one and now had something blessed. She said, I caught my mama once and her mama for that day. 3 generations in these hands that give their life away. She left a sack of groceries and the money from her purse. A midwife and a blessing where the world had been a curse. Some hands bring life for free. Some midwives hold the key. She said, how can I pay you for the bringing of my child? I said, baby, just you hold him, that's the only fee I found. Said I catch him safe and easy, breathe him in today. A new life, don't carry no pain. That's the midwife's hands. That's the midwife's hands. Love that withstands. That's the midwife's hands. Oh, one bag, one night, one night, one child. Breathe light, one girl, not alone, not alone. That boy grew up to be a doctor in the very county wide, delivering the babies with Miss Letty's hands as guide. He found an old midwife rocking on a porch one day. Said, you caught me in a shack, ma'am, and you wouldn't take no pay. She just held his hand and smiled. Said, I knew you'd come around. The baby that I caught all carry blessings to the ground. Now he works the county free for the girls who got no kin, catching all the babies the way Miss Letty's hands began. She said, how can I pay you for the bringing of my child? I said, baby, just you hold him, that's the only fee I found. Said I catch him safe and easy, breathe him in today. A new life, don't carry no pain. That's the midwife's hands. That's the midwife's hands. Love that withstands. That's the midwife's hands. Oh, Miss Letty passed at 90, the county well. Every soul she caught a promise that she kept. And that doctor catches babies across the lands, carrying on the gift. At the midwife's hands. Pastor Eli opened the doors at the 615 cold church basement where the lost souls lean. Came a man named Roscoe with the shakes and the sweat. 20 years, a bottle and a debt he couldn't get. He said, preacher, I ain't holy, I done sold my soul to drink. Eli poured him coffee, said, now brother, let's not think. Said this here is a table where the broken come to mend. There's no tab you gotta settle, just a handling. Some faith don't keep a score. Some doors stay open evermore. He said, why you let me in when I got nothing left to give? I said, Roscoe, grace is free, it's the only way to live. Said you come back every morning, you sit and you stay. You sit and you stay. We'll walk you out of the dark this way. That's open tab faith. That's open tab faith. No bill on the slate. That's open tab faith. Roscoe came back daily to the basement and the brew. Eli never preached at him, just helped him muscle through. The choir they would practice while the coffee it would pour. And slowly something holy crept beneath that broken door. Roscoe found a job again at the lumberyard in town. Eli helped him pay the rent so he wouldn't tumble down. Said the church, it ain't the building, it's the catching of the fall of faith with an open tab that's there to carry all. Some faith don't keep a score. Some doors stay open evermore. He said, why you let me in when I got nothing left to give? I said, Roscoe, grace is free, it's the only way to live. Said you come back every morning, you sit and you stay. You sit and you stay. We'll walk you out of the open tab faith.
That's open tab faith.
No bill on the slate.
That's open tab faith.
Whoa,
One door, one cup, one man. Stood up, one face. Stay wide, stay wide, stay wide, stay wide.
5 years sober, rocks stood before the church one day. Said this bassman and his preacher took my chains away. He joined the choir singing in the robe of midnight blue. And he opened up his own door to the broken passing through. Now he runs the coffee table at the 6:15, welcoming the shaken ones, the lost ones in between. Says the same words that I told him with the steaming grace. There's no tab, you gotta settle. Just take a seat or play.
He said, why you let me in
when I got
nothing left to give?
I said,
Roscoe Grace is free.
it's the only way to live.
Said you come back every morning.
You sit and you stay.
You sit and you stay.
We'll walk you out of the dark this way. That's open tab faith.
That's open tab faith.
No bill on the slate.
That's open tab faith.
Oh, Eli passed and Roscoe took the door.
Keeps it open like it was before.
Pouring coffee for whoever's lost their way. Forever holding open tab faith. I stood outside the school at the 3 o'clock bell. 5 years gone to the bottle and the private hell. My boy walked out the doors, didn't know me by my face. A daddy back from nowhere asking for a second place. His mama said, be careful, he's been hurt before. I said, I know I done it, that's the man, I won't be more. Said I'm sober now and steady, I just wanna take him home. A daddy at the pickup line who used to always roam. Some daddies find their way back to the 3 o'clock day. He said, are you really gonna stay this time around? I said, son, I'm here at 3, both feet on the ground. Said, I'll pick you up tomorrow. And the day past that, a daddy where his absence sat. At the pickup at 3, at the pickup at 3. The man I should be. At the pickup at 3. First few weeks he tested me, said you'll leave like before. I just showed up at 3 o'clock, standing at the door. Brought him to the diner, bought him fries and a shake. Listened to his stories of the years I let him make. He said, Daddy, where you been? I said, son, in a hole, drinking down my failures till I sold away my soul. But a man can climb back out if he wants it bad enough. I'm climbing back to you, boy, through the easy and the rough. Some daddies find their way back to the 3 o'clock day. He said, are you really gonna stay this time around? I said, son, I'm here at 3, both feet on the ground. Said, I'll pick you up tomorrow. And the day past that, a daddy where his absence at. At the pickup at 3, at the pickup at 3. The man I should be. At the pickup at 3. One bell, one son, one dad, 3-1. One day. 3 o'clock and the boy, he came around. Started running to the car, the sweetest kind of sound. He said, Daddy, I was scared you'd disappear again. I said, son, I drink my coffee, now that bottle's dead. Amen. We built it back through pickups, through the small and steady days. A daddy and his boy relearning love's old ways. Now he's grown and got a son of his own to keep. And he's at the school at 3 o'clock to promise he won't break a sleep. He said, are you really gonna stay this time around? I said, son, I'm here at 3. Both feet on the ground. Said, I'll pick you up tomorrow. And the day passed that, the day passed that. Daddy, where is absence at? At the pickup at 3, at the pickup at 3. The man I should be. At the pickup at 3. I'm a grandpa now, and I'm sober still. At the school at 3, by my own free will. My own free will. My boy beside me, both of us carefree. 3 generations at the pickup at 3. We built the porch the summer we got wet. Hammered every board ourselves, not a word was said. Started at the 6 in the morning, finished in the dark. 2 young fools and a measuring tape, leaving our mark. She held the lever steady while I drove the nails on through. Said someday, baby, we'll grow old on this porch we drew. 85 boards we counted and we sanded them down fine. A future built of lumber on the dotted line. Some porches hold a life, whole life. Some boards outlast the strife. She said, you think we'll really sit here when we're old and gray? I said, Lou, I'll rock beside you every single day. Single day. She said, we built it with our own hands, board by board, a lifetime that the years have stored. On the porch we built, on the porch we built, love without guilt. On the porch we built, we raised 3 babies on that porch. Watched them learn to crawl, rocked them through the fevers, watched them grow up tall. Lou and me, we sit there at the 8:30, snapping beans and talking, letting all the worries weigh. We weather every storm, the joys and the despair. The porch had held our marriage like a steady wooden prayer. Through the lean years and the good years, through the laughter and the loss. 85 boards beneath us was a love that we didn't boss. Some porches hold a life, hold a life. Some boards outlast the strife. She said, you think we'll really sit here when we're old and gray? I said, Lou, I'll rock beside you every single day. Single day. Said we built it with our own hands, board by board, a lifetime that the years have stored. On the porch we built, on the porch we built, love without guilt. On the porch we built, one porch, 2 hands, 1 life, with stains, 1 love, was built. We made it to our gray years, just like Lou had said. 2 old old rockers creaking where the young ones used to tread. We'd sit there in the evenings with our hands all entwined, watching all the grandkids and the slow and golden time. Lucy passed last autumn in a rocker, soft and still. I buried her looking out at the porch upon the hill. And now I rock there every evening where we drove the nails on through. 85 boards and a lifetime that we grew. She said, "You think we'll really sit here when we're old and gray?" I said, "Lou, I'll rock beside you every single day." Said we built it with our own hands, board by board, a lifetime that the years have stored on the porch we built. On the porch we built, love without guilt. On the porch we built, my grandkids own the house now, keep the porch the same. 85 old boards still carry our name, and they rock their own babies where the love was spilt. Generations growing on the porch we built. Mr. Cobby swept the halls at the school on Vine. 30 years of mopping at the 3 to 9. There's a boy stayed late each evening, didn't wanna go. Cobby knew the reason, knew the empty home would show. He said, "Son, you hungry? Here, I got a sandwich in my pail." The boy, he ate it quiet with a shame he couldn't veil. Cobb said, "You stay with me, child, while I finish up the floor." A janitor and a latchkey boy and a friendship at the door. Some mop sweep up a hall. Some janitors do their part. He said, "Why you keep me company when your shift is long?" I said, "Son, no child should sit alone when something's wrong." Said, "You do your homework here while I shine the hall." A swept up floor and a boy stands tall. That's the school janitor. That's the
school janitor.
More than a janitor.
That's the school janitor.
Cobby helped that boy with his reading and his sums. Taught him how a man shows up even when the hard times come. Said my daddy was a janitor, his daddy swept as well. We keep the schoolhouse standing, we got stories we could tell. The boy, he had no father, but he had old Cobb instead. A man who shared his sandwich and the wisdom in his head. Every single evening at the 3 to 9, a janitor and a hungry boy on the corner of Vine. Some mop sweep up a heart. Some janitors do their part. He said, "Why you keep me company when your shift is long?" I said, "Son, no child should sit alone when something's wrong." Said, "You do your homework here while I shine the hall." A swept up floor and a boy stands tall. That's the school janitor.
That's the school janitor.
More than a janitor.
That's the school janitor.
One mop, one pail, one boy, won't fail. One man, stay late. That boy, he graduated and he wore a cap and gown, looked out into the crowd and found old Cobb sitting down. He said, "This man's my father, though we share no blood at all. He swept the floors and saved me when I had no one to call." Cobby wept and waved him on, said, "Go and change the world." The boy became a teacher in the very school that swirled. Now he stays late in the evening for the kids who can't go home. A janitor's old kindness in a teacher fully grown. He said, "Why you keep me company when your shift is long?" I said, "Son, no child should sit alone when something's wrong." Said, "You do your homework here while I shine the hall. I swept the floor and a boy stands tall." That's the school janitor.
That's the school janitor.
More than a janitor.
That's the school janitor.
Cobb he passed, and the school it hung his name above the door where the children came. And that teacher stays late, the same old corridor, carrying on the heart of the school janitor. We lost our baby boy in the cold of the year. Empty little crib and a silence hard to bear. My wife, she wouldn't move it from the corner of the room. At the 443 each night she'd sit there in the gloom. Then the agency, they called us about a boy with no home. 2 years old and waiting in the world all alone. I said, "Honey, are we ready? Can we love through the fear?" She said, "Bring him to the crib. That's why it's still here." Some cribs get filled again, some grief becomes a door for kin. She said, "How can I hold another when my own is gone?" I said, "Baby, that empty crib's been waiting for the dawn." Said our boy would want us loving, not closed and grim. Let's fill the second crib for him. That's the second crib, that's the second crib. Love that we give, that's the second crib. We brought him home on a Tuesday at the 4:30. A scared and tiny fellow we had waited for. My wife, she laid him gently in the crib, she wouldn't move. And something in her shoulders found the strength to prove. He cried the first few nights and she rocked him through the dark, singing to a stranger's child the songs that left their mark. And slowly the room that held a heartbreak and a loss filled up with a giggle and a love worth any cost. Some cribs get filled again, some grief becomes a door for kin. She said, "How can I hold another when my own is gone?" I said, "Baby, that empty crib's been waiting for the dawn." Said our boy would want us loving, not closed and grim. Let's fill the second crib for him. That's the second crib, that's the second crib. Love that we give, that's the second crib. One love, one boy, new cross. One love filled in. That boy grew up tall and he knew the whole of it. We told him about the brother in the crib that he had fit. He said, "You didn't replace him, you just made room for two." A heart that lost a baby found the strength to start anew. At his wedding he stood up and he raised a glass to say there was an empty crib that love refused to take away. And I'm the boy that filled it, the second chance they gave. A family built from a sorrow they were brave enough to brave. She said, "How can I hold another when my own is gone?" I said, "Baby, that empty crib's been waiting for the dawn." Said our boy would want us loving, not closed and grim. Let's fill the second started wheeling after 8:09 that night. Sky turned green as a bottle and the wind took up the fight. I run down to my cellar with my flashlight in my hand. Heard her banging at the storm door from across the broken land. There's the family from the trailer, the ones I never knew. 3 kids and a mama with the rain pouring through. She said, "Mister, can we shelter? We got nowhere safe to be." I said, "Get on down here, all of you, there's room enough for me." Some doors fly open wide when the storm don't take no side. She said, "We're strangers, sir. We got no claim on you." I said, "Lady in a twister." Well, the neighbors, all there's true. She said, "Get them children settled where the walls are stone. Nobody rides a storm alone." That's the storm shelter. That's the storm shelter. We helter and shelter. That's the storm shelter. We huddled in that cellar while the world tore up above. The freight train roared, the funnel and the fear, it took the love. I told the kids a story, gave them crackers from the shelf. The mama held the baby and she tried to calm herself. The lights, they flickered out and we sat there in the black, strangers in a basement with the storm upon our back. And when the roar moved over and the quiet came to stay, we climbed up to a county that the wind had blown away. Some doors fly open wide. Oh, when the storm don't take no side. She said, "We're strangers, sir. We got no claim on you." I said, "Lady in a twister." Well, the neighbors, all there's true. Said, "Get them children settled where the walls are stone. Nobody rides a storm alone." That's the storm shelter. That's the storm shelter. We helter and shelter. That's the storm shelter. One door, one door, one door, one storm, one store, one cellar. Stay warm, stay warm. One night, making kin. Ooh, that trailer, it was gone, just a slab where it had stood. I said, "You stay here with me now, in the house and for good." We rebuilt that family's home through the summer, board by board. The whole town pitching in for the shelter that I'd scored. The mama said, "You saved us when you opened up that door." I said, "No, man, we saved each other. That's what sellers for." Now those kids call me uncle, and they come around to stay. A family forged in a twister on a green and roaring day. She said, "We're strangers, sir. We got no claim on you." I said, "Lady in a twister." Well, the neighbors, all there's true. Said, "Get them children settled where the walls are stone. Nobody rides a storm alone." That's the storm shelter. That's the storm shelter. We helter and shelter. That's the storm shelter. Those kids grew up and they dug cellars of their own, open to the strangers. When the sirens moan, doors that fly wide for whoever needs to enter, passing on the grace of the storm shelter. Yeah. Ford Henry presses his suit at the 7 every week. Shines his shoes and combs the little hair up on his peak. Walks down to the chapel at the 9:15. Sits in the third pew over where his Mabel would have been. She passed 3 years ago, come the cold of the spring. 41 years married, every Sunday in the swing. He still dresses in his finest, like she's sitting at his side. A widower in his Sunday best, with a love that never died. Some Sundays hold a vow, hold a vow. Some best is for the here and now. They said, Henry, why you dress up when you sit alone? I said, 'cause Mabel like me handsome, that's the love I've known. Said I wear my finest suit for the empty space. She's still beside me in this place. In my Sunday best, in my Sunday best. Love that won't rest. In my Sunday best. The folks at the chapel, they had watched him for the years. The way he'd save the seat beside him, the way he'd hide the tears. A young girl named Patience, only turning 9, started sitting with old Henry in the 3rd pew line. She said, Mister, you look lonely, can I sit with you? He said, child, you favor my Mabel, please, I wish you would do. So every single Sunday at the 9:15, a widower and a little girl in the pew where love had been. Some Sundays hold a vow, hold a vow. Some best is for the here and now. They said, Henry, why you dress up when you sit alone? I said, 'cause Mabel like me handsome, that's the love I've known. Said I wear my finest suit for the empty space. She's still beside me in this place. In my Sunday best, in my Sunday best. Love that won't rest. In my Sunday best. Ooh. One suit, one cute, one cute, one love. Stay true, one girl, sat near. Henry and that little girl, they grew the closest kin. He taught her all the hymns that he and Mabel sang within. She'd hold his shaking hand through the sermon and the song. A grandpa and a granddaughter, where they both belong. When Henry passed at 90, they laid him by his bride in his very finest suit, with Patience by his side. She wore her Sunday best to the chapel on the hill, and she sits there every Sunday in the 3rd pew still. They said, Henry, why you dress up when you sit alone? I said, 'cause Mabel like me handsome, that's the love I've known. Said I wear my finest suit for the empty space. She's still beside me in this place. In my Sunday best, in my Sunday best. Love that won't rest. In my Sunday best. Oh, Patience grown now, brings her own kids near. Her own kids near. 3rd pew, over year by year. Dressed up fine for the ones at rest. Love living on in the Sunday best. Sunday best. Yeah. ran the tailor shop on the corner of Bond. 50 years of needles, and the trade he'd grown so fond. Came a nervous boy at the 415 in a borrowed coat too wide. Said, sir, I'm getting married, and patina for the bride. I said, son, turn around now, let me see the way it hangs. He said, mister, I got $11, that's the whole of my bank. Abe just smiled and chalked the seams where the fabric had to fall. Said, keep your money, boy, this thread won't cost you at all. Some needles so of grace, some kindness fits a worried face. He said, why you fix my suit for a price I cannot pay? I said, son, a man gets married only once this way. Said, I'll tuck and eye him till you're standing proud and tall. A handsome groom is worth it all. That's the tailor's thread, that's the tailor's thread. Love in the spread, that's the tailor's thread. A.B. stitched till midnight where the lamp was burning low. Pressed the shoulder sharp and clean like the boy was sure to glow. Said, I'll marry my own Ruth in a suit a tailor gave 40 years. She's been with me through the steady and the brave. A man behind a needle, well, he learned the way to give. You measure twice for kindness, that's the way to live. He sewed a little extra in the pocket near the heart, a folded $20 bill to give the boy a start. Some needles so of grace, some kindness fits a worried face. He said, why you fix my suit for a price I cannot pay? I said, son, a man gets married only once this way. Said, I'll tuck and eye him till you're standing proud and tall. A handsome groom is worth it all. That's the tailor's thread, that's the tailor's thread. Love in the spread, that's the tailor's thread. One seam, one coat, one groove, stayed afloat, one thread, held on. That boy, he wet his sweetheart, looking sharp as any king. Found the folded 20, and he wept at the simple thing. He came back to the tailor shop with his firstborn in his arms. Said, you stitched my whole beginning, babe, you kept my family warm. Baby taught that young man how to thread and how to mend. Passed the shop along to the groom that he called a friend. Now the corner shop on Bond still hymns the poor man's pride. Free suits for the grooms who can't afford the bride. He said, why you fix my suit for a price I cannot pay? I said, son, a man gets married only once this way. Said, I'll tuck and eye him till you're standing proud and tall. A handsome groom is worth it all. That's the tailor's thread, that's the tailor's thread. Love in the spread, that's the tailor's thread. A.B. passed and the young man kept the shop. Free suits for the groom, the kindness won't stop. Stitches every groom a pocket where a love is fed. Carrying on the gift of the tailor's thread. A double shift to make the rent. 2 kids and a landlord and a paycheck nearly spent. Smiling through the 805 with coffee on the run, hiding all the worry from the customers, each one. There's an old man in the corner that she served his eggs and toast. Quiet little fellow, just the kind she noticed most. He left her with the dishes in a folded paper square. She found $250 and a note left there. Some tips come straight from grace, some angels guide her. She said, sir, you made a mistake. This is way too much. I said, no, ma'am, I've been watching. You got the kindest touch. Said, you serve with a smile through a worry you don't show. You don't show. Take this and let the rent day go. That's a tip jar angel. That's a tip jar angel. Help when it's painful. That's a tip jar angel. Turned out that old fella had been coming for a year. Watched her work the doubles, watched her swallow every tear. He lost his wife who waited tables 40 years before. Knew the kind of tie that walks out that kitchen door. The note it said, my Norma served with a smile like you. This is what I wish that folks had done for her to do. He didn't leave a number, didn't leave a name. Just a $250,000 and a memory's flame. Some tips come straight from grace. Some angels got a regular face. She said, sir, you made a mistake. This is way too much. I said, no, ma'am, I've been watching. You got the kindest touch. Said, you serve with a smile through a worry you don't show. You don't show. Take this and let the rent day go. That's a tip jar angel. That's a tip jar angel. Help when it's painful. That's a tip jar angel. Yeah. One note, one smile, one man, worthwhile, one man, got paid, got paid, got paid, got paid. Tina made the rent that month and a little bit beyond. Came looking for the old man, but the corner booth was gone. The cook said he'd passed away. The funeral was small. She went to pay a thank you to a man who gave her all. Found out he left a fund for the waitresses in need. And Norma's loving memory, a quiet mighty deed. Now Tina runs that fund and she keeps the booth reserved for an angel and a Norma and a smile they deserve. She said, sir, you made a mistake. This is way too much. I said, no, ma'am, I've been watching. You got the kindest touch. Said you serve with a smile through a worry you don't show. You don't show. Take this and let the rent day go. That's a tip jar angel. That's a tip jar angel. Help when it's painful. That's a tip jar angel. Tina owns the diner now. The booth still set, the booth still set for the waitresses in need who can't pay yet. Can't pay. She slips them folded notes when the days are painful. Forever giving like a tip jar angel. Shop on Garnet Lane. 40 years of tiny gears in the sun and in the rain. Came a soldier at the 9 o'clock with a broken thing of gold. Said, sir, my daddy gave me this for the war. Made me cold. The crystal, it was shattered, and the second hand was still a timepiece from a father at the bottom of the hill. Silas held it to his loop. Said, son, this can be saved. He set to work in silence on a gift the boy had braved. Some gears hold a father's hand, a father's hand. Some watchmen understand. He said, how much to fix the watch? I'm a soldier short on pay. I said, son, your daddy's ticking. That's all I need today. All I need. Said I'll set the gears in motion, make it whole and right. A father's time will tick tonight. That's the watchmaker's gift. That's the watchmaker's gift. Time that won't drift. That's the watchmaker's gift. Silas worked till evening on the gear so small and worn. Cleaned each tiny piece of the love the boy had born. Said I lost my own dad's watch in a fire long ago. I get my hands to hear that ticking, son. You ought to know. So I fixed them free for soldiers and the ones who lost their kin. A watch is just a heartbeat, and that a family keeps within. He wound it up and held it, and it ticked back to life. A father's pulse returning through the watchmaker's knife. Some gears hold a father's hand. Father's hand. Some watchmen understand. He said, how much to fix the watch? Ooh, I'm a soldier short on pay. I said, son, your daddy's ticking. That's all I need today. All I need. Said I set the gears in motion, make it whole and right. A father's time will tick tonight. That's the watchmaker's gift. That's the watchmaker's gift. Time that won't drift. That's the watchmaker's gift. One gear, one spring, one watch. We'll sing. One dad ticks on. One gear, one spring, one watch. Whoa. Through the rest of all his years, through his wedding and his children, and the laughter and the tears. He came back to the shop on Garney when his own boy turned 8. Said, Silas, here's my son now, teach him the gears of fate. Silas showed the little fellow how the tiny pieces move, how a watch can hold a grandpa, and a love it has to prove. Now that boy fixes timepieces in the shop on Garnet Lane, free for the grieving soldiers in the sun and in the rain. He said, how much to fix the watch? Ooh, I'm a soldier short on pay. I said, son, your daddy's ticking. That's all I need today. All I need. Said I set the gears in motion, make it whole and right. A father's time will tick tonight. That's the watchmaker's gift. That's the watchmaker's gift. Time that won't drift. That's the watchmaker's gift. Silas passed and the shop still ticks away. The soldier's son repairs him every day. Free for the broken hearted, the sad is reft, forever giving life. The watchmaker's gift. Miss Ada lost her husband in the early days of May. 40 years of gardens that they tended every day. Now the weeds were taking over at the 7 in the morning. Her hands too old and shaky and her spirit too forlorn. Young Marcus from next door, he'd watched the garden die, came over with a hoe and a question in his eye. He said, Miss Ada, I don't know much, but I can learn to weed. Let me tend your husband's roses, ma'am. Let me plant the seed. Some gardens grieve a man, some gardens grieve a man. Some neighbors lend a hand. She said, why you tending a garden you don't own? I said, Miss Ada, nobody should grieve and weed alone. Said I learned the way your water kept the rose, and keep them him slowly how her Walter planted true. The tomatoes by the fence post and the beans where the sun came through. Marcus came each morning at the 7:30 sharp, pulled the weeds and watered while she hummed an oh so harp. She'd sit there in her lawn chair and she'd tell him all the lore. 60 years of marriage that the garden held in store. And the roses, they came back red against the gray. A widow and a young man growing grief away. Some gardens grieve a man, some gardens grieve a man. Some neighbors lend a hand. Oh, she said, why you tending a garden you don't know? Oh, I said, Miss Ada, nobody should grieve and weed alone. Said I learned the way. Oh, Walter kept the rose, and keep them blooming till the good Lord knows. In the widow's garden, in the widow's garden, hearts that won't harden. In the widow's garden, one hope, one hope, one row, one row, one rose will grow, will grow. One grief made green. Ada passed in autumn with the garden at its best. Left the house to Marcus and the roses she had blessed. The Willett said, you tended me through the hardest year. You weeded out my sorrow and you kept my Walter near. Now Marcus keeps that garden like the couple long ago. Tomatoes by the fence post and the beans all in a row. And he teaches all the neighbors' kids the way to plant and tend. A widow's grief turned garden that the love would never end. She said, why you tending a garden you don't own? I said, Miss Ada, nobody should grieve and weed alone. Said I learned the way. Oh, Walter kept the rose, and keep them blooming till the good Lord knows. In the widow's garden, in the widow's garden, hearts that won't harden. Widow's garden. Marcus grew old in that garden shade, teaching the grieving the roads that they made. Every lonely widow gets a hand to pardon the grief forever in the widow's garden. Flora fired the ovens at the bakery on Ren. Up at the 4 in the morning, the loneliest of when. She'd bake the bread for the morning rush, the rolls and rye and wheat. But she'd set the day-old loaves out back on the empty street. Cause the hungry ones would come there in the dark before the dawn. The ones with empty bellies and a pride they'd not put on. She said, take it, it's just day-old, it would only go to waste. A baker feeding the hidden ones with quiet, gentle grace. Some ovens warm the lost, some bread don't count the cost. They said, why you leave the bread out for the ones who cannot pay? I said, no soul should go hungry at the breaking of the day. Said, I'll bake a little extra, set it by the door. A baker always bakes some more. That's the baker at 4. That's the baker at 4. Feeding the poor. That's the baker at 4. Feeding the poor. That's the baker at 4. There's a boy who came each morning at the 4:15. Took a loaf and a kindness, and he'd linger at the door. Flora learned his mama mama worked the night and slept the day. A latchkey boy with a hunger she could see, and would not wait. She started baking him a fresh roll, warm and just for him. Slipped a little butter when the times were extra grim. Said you eat now, baby, you can't grow on empty air. A baker and a hungry boy, and the bread that showed she cared. Some ovens warm the lost, some bread don't count the cost. They said, why you leave the bread out for the ones who cannot pay? I said, no soul should go hungry at the breaking of the day. Said, I'll bake a little extra, set it by the door. A baker always bakes some more. That's the baker at 4, that's the baker at 4, feeding the poor. That's the baker at 4. One loaf, one door, one door, fed more. One door, made more. That boy grew up and he opened up a bakery of his own. Up at the 4 in the morning, where the lonely oven's grown, he sets the day-old loaves out back in the dark before the day. For the hungry and the hidden ones who cannot find a way. He tells them all of Flora and the rolls she used to make. The latchkey boy she fed when his belly used to ache. Now 2 bakeries in the city set the bread out at the 4. A chain of quiet kindness feeding the forgotten poor. They said, why you leave the bread out for the ones who cannot pay? I said, no soul should go hungry. Baking of the day. Said, I'll bake a little extra, set it by the door. A baker always bakes some more. That's the baker at 4, that's the baker at 4, feeding the poor. That's the baker at 4. Floor passed and the oven still glow, still glow. Bread in the dark for the ones laid low, the ones laid low. The boy she fed now opens the back door, carrying all the love of the baker at 4. Yeah. She fixed the shoes in the basement shop on Pell. 40 years of leather and the story souls can tell. Came a man at the noon o'clock with his shoes worn through the skin. Cardboard in the bottom and the cold November end. He said, sir, I got no money, I just need a place to sit. Gus, he looked down at those shoes and he knew the want of it. Said, take them off now, brother, let me see what I can do. A cobbler and a freezing man and a pair of shoes near through. Some souls hold up a soul, hold up a soul. Some cobblers make you whole. He said, how much for the leather and the mending of my pair? I said, brother, put your wallet up, just sit there in the chair. Said, no man walks the winter on a cardboard soul. New leather's gonna keep you whole. That's the cobbler's soul. That's the cobbler's soul. Mending the holes. That's the cobbler's soul. Yeah. Cause he built new souls from the finest leather there. Resoled and rehealed them with a craftsman's care. Said I slept rough myself in the winter of my youth, till a cobbler gave me boots and a reason and the truth. The man, he tried to thank him, but the words got caught and stalled. Gus just slid the shoes back, said, you're welcome, that is all. Slipped a pair of wool socks and a card for the shelter line. A cobbler keeping souls from the the cold and the decline. Some souls hold up a soul, hold up a soul. Some cobblers make you whole. He said, how much for the leather and the mending of my pair? I said, brother, put your wallet up, just sit there in the chair. Said, no man walks the winter on a cardboard soul. New leather's gonna keep you whole. That's the cobbler's soul, hey, that's the cobbler's soul. Mending the holes, that's the cobbler's soul. Oh. One soul, one soul, one heel, one man, made real, one pair, walked on. That man, he found his footing with the leather on his feet. Got into the shelter and he found his way off the street. A year went by and he came back to the basement shop on Pell with the job and clean shoes and a story he could tell. Gus, he taught him cobbling how to mend the worn out soul. Now the man, he fixes shoes for the freezing and the cold. He keeps a chair for the ones whose shoes are worn to skin. A cobbler's old compassion where new souls begin. He said, how much for the leather and the mending of my pair? I said, brother, put your wallet up, just sit there in the chair. Said, no man walks the winter on a cardboard soul. New leather's gonna keep you whole. That's the cobbler's soul. Yeah, that's the cobbler's soul. Mending the holes, that's the cobbler's soul. Cause he passed in the shop, stayed lit on Pell. That memory's old, the worn out, doing well. Free leather for the freezing body and the souls, carrying on the gift of the cobbler's soul. Ran the flower shop on Magnolia Street. 40 years of roses and the heartbreak she would meet. Came a fool at the 5:15 with his hat down in his hand. Said, ma'am, I wronged my wife and I don't know where I stand. He said, give me your most expensive, the grandest bunch you got. Iris looked them over, said, sunflowers ain't the plot. Said, the biggest rose won't fix it if you don't know what you broke. Sit down here at my counter, let's talk before you spoke. Some florists sell the truth, some florists sell the truth. Some petals carry proof. He said, just sell me the roses, ain't that what they're for? I said, son, a sorry's not a flower at the door. Said, take these simple daisies and the word you mean, the cheapest bunch with a heart washed clean. That's the Florist Counsel, that's the Florist Counsel. Love ain't a bounce fall, that's the Florist Counsel. Iris sat that man down and she made him say it plain, what he done and why he done it and the cause of all the pain. She said, you go home and tell her, not with roses red as fire, but with daisies and the honest of a humble, the true desire. She gave him a little bunch and she wouldn't take his cash. Said the words are what will save you, not the showy floral splash. She went home at the 7 with the daisies and the truth. A man taught how to love again by a florist in her booth. Some florists sell the truth, some florists sell the truth. Some petals carry proof.
one truth, one man, found proof, one wife, one bite, took him back, took him back, took him back, took him back, took him back.
That man, he won his wife back with the daisies and the word. The realest, humblest, sorry that a woman never heard. He came back to the flower shop with his wife upon his arm. Said, Miss Iris saved my marriage with her honest, gentle charm. Now they buy their daisies yearly on the day he nearly lost the marriage that a florist saved without the show he cost. Iris taught a generation that the truth is what repairs the cheapest bunch of flowers and a heart that truly cares. He said, just sell me the roses, ain't that what they're for? I said, son, a sorry's not a flower at the door. Said, take these simple daisies and the word you mean, the cheapest bunch with a heart washed clean. That's the Florist Counsel, that's the Florist Counsel. Love ain't a bounce fall, that's the Florist Counsel. Iris passed and that couple bought the shop, selling daisies and the truth that makes it stop. Counsel for the fools whose love is on the cancel, forever giving like the Florist Counsel. Roy walked the mail route for 40 years and 3. Knew the name of every house from the hill down to the sea. Came around at the 10:05 with the letters and the news, the births and the goodbyes and the everyday blues. He knew old Mrs. Hadley hadn't picked her mail in days. Saw it piling in the box through the autumn haze. He said something here ain't right, and he knocked upon her door. Found on the kitchen floor where she'd fallen the night before. Some mailmen know the signs, know the signs. Some routes are saving lives. She said, Roy, how'd you know that I had taken such a fall? I said, ma'am, your mail was stacked and didn't fit the box at all. Said, I called the ambulance and I held your hand. A mailman watches all the land. That's 40 years, Roy. That's 40 years, Roy. Saving with joy. That's 40 years, Roy. That's 40 years, Roy. Roy, he saved Miss Hadley and he saved a dozen more. The ones who lived alone behind a never open door. He knew the lonely widows and the old men gone to grave. Slipped them little visits as he carried mail their way. Said my daddy walked this route for the war and for my birth. He taught me that a mailman is the keeper of the earth. You don't just carry letters, son, you carry on the souls. A route is full of people, not just numbers in the holes. Some mailmen know the signs, some mailmen know the signs. Some routes are saving lives, some routes are saving lives. She said, Roy, how'd you know that I had taken such a fall? I said, ma'am, your mail was stacked and didn't fit the box at all. So I called the ambulance and I held your hand. A mailman watches all the land. That's 40 years, Roy. That's 40 years, Roy. Saving with joy. That's 40 years, Roy. Woo! One route, one route, one box, one box, one knock, one knock, one lock, one lock, one light, one light. We're saved, we're saved. When Roy retired, the whole town line the route to say goodbye. Said you walked into my driveway, Roy, when the falling hit me hard. He passed a few years later, and they buried him near the bay. And the young mail carrier learned to watch the route his way. Now she knocks on doors when the mail begins to stack. A mailman saving lives down the lonely cul-de-sac. She said, Roy, how'd you know that I had taken such a fall? I said, ma'am, your mail was stacking, didn't fit the box at all. Said I called the ambulance and I held your hand. A mailman watches all the land. That's 40 years, Roy. That's 40 years, Roy. Saving with joy. That's 40 years, Roy. The route runs on with the carrying new, watching the lonely the way Roy do. Knocking on the doors with the silence is coy. Carrying on the heart of 40 years, Roy. Yeah. Also got the lighthouse on the rocks of Mercy Point. 40 years of turning the lamp and the salt and the joint. A storm rolled in at the 9:15, black as a sinner's soul. A little boat was foundering where the angry waters roll. He cranked the great light brighter and he rang the heavy bell. Guided that lost vessel through the maw of the swell. A young man at the oars was fighting for his life. Axe's beam, the only thread between the boy and the knife. Some lamps are someone's hope, someone's hope. Some keepers throw the rope. He said, Keeper, how'd you find me in the black and roaring night? I said, son, I never sleep when there's a soul in fright. Said I keep the lamp burning till you reach the shore. Lighthouse keeper, ask no more. That's the lighthouse keeper. That's the lighthouse keeper. That's the lighthouse keeper. Guarding the sleeper. That's the lighthouse keeper. Asa pulled the boy ashore in the howling, freezing rain. Warmed him by the lighthouse stove and eased his salty pain. The young man had run away from a home of grief and stone. Took a boat into a storm cause he felt so alone. Eyes up, fading fishing stories kept him through the night. Said the sea it nearly took you, but the lamp it burned you right. Said you're welcome here forever, son. The lighthouse needs a hand, a lonely keeper and a lost boy on the rocks of land. Some lamps are someone's hope, someone's hope. Some keepers throw the rope. He said, Keeper, how'd you find me in the black and roaring night? I said, son, I never sleep when there's a soul in fright. Said I keep the lamp burning till you reach the shore. Lighthouse keeper, ask no more. That's the lighthouse keeper. That's the lighthouse keeper. That's the lighthouse keeper. Guarding the sleeper. That's the lighthouse keeper. One lamp, one storm, one boat kept on. One boy came home. One boy. The boy, he stayed with Isa and he learned to mind the light. Two lonely souls together, turning back the night. He became a keeper too when old Isa passed away, cranking up the great lamp at the close of every day. Now he pulls the foundering in from the cold and crashing foam, feeds them fishing stories and he gives the lost a home. He tells them all of 40 years of listening, and since his seeing days were done, came a call at the 213 from a widow on the square. Said my husband's piano silent, and I can't bear the air. He played it every evening for the heart attack took hold. Now he sits there cold and out of tune and growing old. Amos came with his hammer and his ear that never failed. Said, ma'am, let's wake the music that your husband's hands had held. Some hands can hear the grief, some tuning brings relief. She said, how much for the tuning? I'm a widow on my own. I said, ma'am, your husband's music is the only fee I've known. Said, I'll bring the keys to singing true and clear, so you'll hear him every evening near. That's the piano tuner. That's the piano tuner. Grieve a little sooner. That's the piano tuner. Amos worked the strings all evening with his careful knowing touch. Brought the silent piano back to the love it held so much. He said, I lost my wife years back, and I couldn't see her face, but I tuned our old piano, and I felt her in the place. He played a gentle melody the widow's man had known, and she wept to hear the music that had filled her empty home. Said, it's like he's here beside me, like his hands are on the keys. A blind man and a widow finding solace in the breeze. Some hands can hear the grief, some tuning brings relief. She said, how much for the tuning? I'm a widow on my own. I said, ma'am, your husband's music is the only fee I've known. Said, I'll bring the keys to singing true and clear, so you'll hear him every evening near. Oh, that's the piano tuner. Ooh, that's the piano tuner. Grieve a little sooner. That's the piano tuner. One string, one key, one song, set free, set free. One love still plays, still plays. From the blind man's gentle guide every evening at the dusk, with her husband at her side. Amos came each season just to keep the strings in tune. A friendship grown from sorrow under the willow moon. When the widow passed, her children found a letter in the bench. Said the music kept me living when the grief began to wrench. Now her grandkids play that piano that the tuner kept alive. A blind man's gift of music that the family will survive. She said, how much for the tuning? I'm a widow on my own. I said, ma'am, your husband's music is the only fee I've known. Said, I'll bring the keys to sing it true and clear, so you'll hear him every evening near. Oh, that's the piano tuner. That's the piano tuner. Ooh, grieve a little sooner. That's the piano tuner. Amos passed, but the piano sing in the homes of the grieving where the hammers ring, and his student tunes them now. A soft commuter carrying on the ear of the piano tuner. Yeah. the town of Cedar Bend. 40 years of caskets and the sorrows that they send. Came a couple at the 4 o'clock with their faces washed in grief. Lost a baby in the cradle and they had no fun nor brief. He said, sir, we got no money, but we can't just let her go. Driscoll set his pen down, said, now child, I already know. Said, your little girl gets buried like the daughter of a king. A tiny white casket and the bells the angels ring. Some undertakers give so the grieving ones can live. Oh, they said, how can we pay you for the burying of our own? I said, folks, you keep your money, you ain't grieving here alone. Said, I lay her down in satin soft and clean and white. A baby gets her dignity tonight. That's the Undertaker's mercy. That's the Undertaker's mercy. Tender and worthy. That's the Undertaker's mercy. Driscoll built a little box with his own 2 careful hands. Lined it soft as morning for the smallest of demands. He lost a child himself in the long ago and far. Knew the kind of empty that don't ever leave a scar. He brought a tiny headstone with a name and date so brief. Stood beside the parents in their unspeakable grief. Said, no baby in my county goes unburied or unblessed. Undertaker's mercy lays the littlest to rest. Some undertakers give, some undertakers give, so the grieving ones can live. Oh, they said, how can we pay you for the burying of our own? I said, folks, you keep your money, you ain't grieving here alone. Said, I'll lay her down in satin soft and clean and white. A baby gets her dignity tonight. That's the Undertaker's mercy. That's the Undertaker's mercy. Tender and worthy. That's the Undertaker's mercy. One box, one box, one man, one man, one grave. No shame, no shame. One child laid down, laid down. Years went by and that couple, they had children strong and well. But they never once forgot the man who spared them from the hell. They came back to Cedar Bend with a check to clear the debt. Driscoll wouldn't take it, said your daughter's resting yet. He started up a fund so no poor family pays the cost for the burying of the babies that their arms had lost. That couple gives to it yearly in their lost little girl's name. Undertaker's mercy turned his sorrow to a flame. They said, how can we pay you for the burying of our own? I said, folks, you keep your money, you ain't grieving here alone. Said, I lay her down in satin soft and clean and white. A baby gets her dignity tonight. That's the Undertaker's mercy. That's the Undertaker's mercy. Tender and worthy. That's the Undertaker's mercy. Driscoll passed and the fund still stands, burying the babies across the lands. No family pays for grief or the heart's controversy. Forever giving like the Undertaker's mercy. Dolly struck the ark at the shipyard every morning. 30 years of spark since the day that June was born. Up at the 5:15 with his helmet remember to give his girl a name. She said, Daddy, you come home so tired and so burned. He said, baby, every weld is $1 that you earn. Said, you're going off to college, you're the first in all I ken. A welder's daughter, rising up where the steel begins. Some sparks light up a dream. Some fathers weld the seam. She said, Daddy, you should rest now, you done paid your due. I said, June, this fire's burning so that you break through. So that you break through. Said, I weld until my hands give out, and then some more, and then some more. A daughter's future's what it's for. That's the welder's daughter. That's the welder's daughter. Rose like he taught her. That's the welder's daughter. Daily worked the double shifts and he saved up every dime. $1,200 for the tuition. Paid it one hard time. June, she studied nightly with her daddy's burns in mind. The sacrifice of a welder of the steadfast kind. He come home at the 7 smelling of the smoke and slag. Pull a wrinkled stack of dollars from his lunch pail bag. Said, this is for your books, girl. This is for your gown. A welder building a daughter who would never let him down. Some sparks light up a dream. Some fathers weld the seam. She said, Daddy, you should rest now, you done paid your due. I said, June, this fire's burning so that you break through. So that you break through. Said, I weld until my hands give out, and then some more, then some more. A daughter's future's what it's for. That's the welder's daughter. That's the welder's daughter. Rose like he taught her. That's the welder's daughter. One art, one flame, one flame, one girl, one name, one dad. Built high. June, she walked the stage with a diploma in her hand. Looked out and found her daddy, the proudest in the land. His hands all scarred from welding, his eyes all full of tears. A man who burned for decades to give his girl the years. She became an engineer, builds the ships her daddy made, but better, stronger, safer, for the price her father paid. And now she takes care of Dale in the easy of his age. A welder's daughter writing the next and brighter page. She said, Daddy, you should rest now, you done paid your due. I said, June, this fire's burning so that you break through. So that you break through. Said, I weld until my hands give out, and then some more, then some more. A daughter's future's what it's for. That's the welder's daughter. That's the welder's daughter. Rose like he taught her. That's the welder's daughter. Dale grew old in June. She built him a home where the proud old welder never has to roam. And she tells her own kids of the sparks that brought her the fire and the love of the welder's daughter. Yeah, 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 yeah. Miss Fern, she drove the Bookmobile down the county lanes. 40 years of stories through the sunshine and the rains. There's a boy out on Route 7 who could never leave his bed. A sickness in his body, but a hunger in his head. She pull up at the 215 with a stack of brand new tales. Climb the porch steps to his window where the daylight pales. Said, baby, I brought adventures, I brought dragons, I brought seas. A bookmobile of wonders for a boy upon his knees. Some wheels bring the world to a sick and shut-in girl or curl. He said, why you climb my porch when I can't come to you? I said, baby, every child deserves a story or two. Said, I'll bring the whole wide world right to your door. A bookmobile can give you more. That's the bookmobile. That's the bookmobile. A world that's real. That's the bookmobile. Miss Fern, she came each week, though the route was out her way. Read to little Danny when he was too weak to play. She brought him tales of pirates in a faraway land. Put the whole of the universe in his frail little hands. Said, I was sick myself once, a girl who couldn't run, but the books, they took me everywhere, under moon and sun. She'd stay an extra hour, reading soft beside his bed. A bookmobile of mercy for a boy the world had dread. Some wheels bring the world to a sick and shut-in girl or curl. He said, why you climb my porch when I can't come to you? I said, baby, every child deserves a story or two. Said, I'll bring the whole wide world right to your door. A bookmobile can give you more. That's the bookmobile. That's the bookmobile. A world that's real. That's the bookmobile. One van, one book, one boy, got took, one world, brought near. Danny, he grew stronger, and the sickness let him be. The books that kept him living when his body wasn't free. He grew up to be a writer, spinning tales of his own. The boy the bookmobile had reached when he was all alone. He dedicated his first book to the woman and her van. The bookmobile of stories that had made him who he am. Now he funds a fleet of them for the children sick in bed. A bookmobile of kindness, keeping hope and wonder fed. He said, why you climb my porch when I can't come to you? I said, baby, every child deserves a story or two. Said, I'll bring the whole wide world right to your door. A bookmobile can give you more. That's the bookmobile. That's the bookmobile. A world that's real. That's the bookmobile. Miss Fern, she passed us, but the van still rolled, bringing the world to the sick and the soul. And the rider keeps the fleet on the road, genteel, carrying on the gift of the bookmobile. Bridge over Sorrow Creek. 40 years of turning the wheel that made it speak. Came a widow each evening at the 8:30. Stood there at the railing looking lonesome and frayed. Eldon knew that empty look, knew the man had lost his wife. Saw him standing there each night, just weary of the life. He said, evening friend, come sit a while. The bridge can wait its turn. A tender and a lonely man, and a kindness left to learn. Some bridges hold a soul, so some tenders make you whole. He said, why you sit with me when you got a bridge to mine? I said, friend, no man should stand alone with grief of any kind. Say, come share my coffee, and we'll watch the water flow. A tender's there, so you don't go. That's the bridge tender. That's the bridge tender. A friend to the splendor. That's the bridge tender. Every single evening, Eldon set a second chair, poured a cup of coffee for the widower there. They talked about the fishing and the wives they both had loved. The grief grew a little lighter with a friendship from above. Eldon told him stories, made the old man laugh again. Said the creek keeps right on rolling, friend, and so will you. And then the widower, he started looking forward to the night. A bridge tender's company turned the dark to light. Some bridges hold a soul, so some tenders make you whole. He said, why you sit with me, oh, when you got a bridge to mine? I said, friend, no man should stand alone with grief of any kind. Say, come share my coffee, and we'll watch the water flow. A tender's there, so you don't go. That's the bridge tender. That's the bridge tender. A friend to the splendor. That's the bridge tender. One bridge, one chair, one man found care, one friend pulled through. That widow healed up over seasons by the creek. Found his smile and found his footing and the strength he used to seek. He came to every evening, not for grief, but for the friend, the bridge tender who had sat with him until the lonely's end. When Eldon's hands grew shaky, the widower took the wheel, raised the bridge beside him, learned the trade and how to feel. Now he tends the bridge and sets a second chair each night for the lonely ones who stand there looking weary in the light. He said, why you sit with me when you got a bridge to mine? I said, friend, no man should stand alone with grief of any kind. Say, come share my coffee, and we'll watch the water flow. A tender's there, so you don't go. That's the bridge tender. A friend to the splendor. That's the bridge tender. Eldon passed, but the bridge still turns in the second chair. Well, it still concerns. It still concerns the widower tender now, the lonely's defender, carrying on the heart of the bridge tender. Augie ran a butcher shop on the corner of Dale. 40 years of cleavers and the cuts behind the rail. Came my mama at the 5:15 with $1 and a dime, counting out the pennies for a bone to last the time. She said, sir, what can I get for $1 and some change? Augie weighed a roll so big it looked looked a little strange. Said that'll be $1, ma'am. The rest is on the house. A butcher feeding a family with more than just a mouse. Some scales weigh more than meat. Some butchers help you eat. She said, sir, that roast is worth a whole lot more than this. I said, ma'am, my scale's been generous. Don't take my kindness amiss. Take it amiss. I said, your young ones need their dinner, growing strong and right. A full plate's worth a heavy night. That's the butcher's cut. That's the butcher's cut. No ifs and no buts. That's the butcher's cut. Augie knew that mama had 3 kids and a man long gone, working 2 jobs steady from the dusk until the dawn. So every time she came in for a bone or for a scrap, he'd weight his thumb up on the scale and close the little gap. Said I was raised on charity from a butcher just like me. Slid extra in a parcel that she didn't ask to see. A pound of ground for the $1, a sausage for the boys. A butcher's quiet kindness made 'em meat instead of noise. Some scales weigh more than meat. Some butchers help you eat. She said, sir, that roast is worth a whole lot more than this. I said, ma'am, my scale's been generous. Don't take my kindness amiss. Take it amiss. Said your young ones need their dinner, growing strong and right. A full plate's worth a heavy night. That's the butcher's cut. That's the butcher's cut. No ifs and no buts. That's the butcher's cut. One roast, one scale, won't fail, tip down, one roast, scale, one mile, won't fail. Oh, 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 oh. Then 3 kids grew up strong on a butcher's gentle weight. One became a chef and he never once forgot the plate. He came back to the corner where old Augie used to stand. Found the shop still open with a young man's steady hand. He said, your daddy fed my family when the times were lean and rough. Augie's son just smiled and said, now that's the family stuff. Now that chef, he cooks for the shelter every Sunday night. A butcher's cut still feeding through the long and hungry fight. She said, sir, that roast is worth a whole lot more than this. I said, ma'am, my scale's been generous. Don't take my kindness amiss. Take it amiss. Said your young ones need their dinner, growing strong and right. A full plate's worth a heavy night. That's the butcher's cut. Oh, that's the butcher's cut. No ifs and no buts. That's the butcher's cut. Augie passed and the sun kept the blaze. Generous scales and the kindness made. And the chef feeds the shelter, the hungry gut, carrying on the gift of the butcher's cut. He punched the tickets on the northbound line. 40 is a railways at the 9, and the time came a boy at the 11:05 with his eyes all red and white. No ticket and a duffel and a grief he couldn't hide. He said, mister, I got no fare, but my mama's lying still. The funeral's at the morning past the river and the hill. Vance, he looked at the boy and he punched the ticket through. Said, sit down, son, this train tonight is carrying you. Some conductors been the fare, some punch punches show they care. He said, how much for the passage? I got nothing I can pay. I said, son, a boy gets one mama. You'll be there today. He said, take a seat up front and watch the country roll. A free ride for a grieving soul. That's the conductor's punch. That's the conductor's punch. Mercy in a bunch. That's the conductor's punch. Vans he sat beside the boy through the long and rolling night. Heard him tell of a mama who had loved him with her might. Worked her fingers to the bone in the mill across the way. Now she lay there cold and silent, and the boy had no way to pay. Vance, he bought him supper from the dining car so fine. Said, you eat now, son, your family on this northbound line. He slipped a folded 20 in the duffel by the door. A conductor giving more than a punch could ever store. Some conductors mend the fare. Some punches show they care. He said, how much for the passage? I got nothing I can pay. I said, son, a boy gets one mama. You'll be there today. Said, take a seat up front and watch the country roll. A free ride for a grieving soul. That's the conductor's punch. That's the conductor's punch. Mercy in a bunch. That's the conductor's punch. One ticket, one ride, one boy at her side, one mom, say goodbye, The boy made the funeral, and he held his mama's hand. Buried her proper in the morning of the riverland. He never once forgot the man who punched him through the gate. The supper and the 20 in the seat that wouldn't wait. Years went by and a boy he wore a conductor's blue, punching on the northbound line the rude old Vance once knew. And there's a girl at the 1105 with her eyes all red and wide. He punches her a ticket and he sits down by her side. He said, how much for the passage? I got nothing I can pay. I said, son, a boy gets one mama. You'll be there today. He said, take a seat up front and watch the country roll. A free ride for a grieving soul. That's the conductor's punch. That's the conductor's punch. Mercy in a bunch. That's the conductor's punch. Fancy pass, but the northbound runs free for the grieving daughters and sons. The boy conducts it now, his ticket a hunch. Ooh, carrying on the grace of the conductor's punch. Captain Tully ran a trawler out of Harbor Cove. 40 years of netting in the cold and salty trove. Found a boy at the 515 sleeping on the pier. No mama and no daddy and a hunger you could hear. He said, son, you wanna work? I need a hand aboard. The boy, he jumped up, ready like the heavens had restored. Said, I got no folks, Captain, I just been on my own. Tully said, well, climb aboard, son, no one fishes alone. Some nets pulling a sun, some nets pulling a sun. Some captains take the one. He said, why you take a stray like me out on the sea? I said, son, the ocean's a lonesome, you can crew with me. Said you learn to cast the net and read the swell. A fisherman can raise you well. That's the fisherman's net. That's the fisherman's net. No better bet yet. That's the fisherman's net. Tully taught the boy to read the water and the sky, how to cast the heavy net and catch the dawns together, and they split the daily catch. A captain and a foundling were the finest kind of match. The boy, he found a father in the salt and in the spray. A fisherman's net of kindness pulled the lost boys away. Some nets pulled in a sun, some nets pull in a sun. Some captains take the one. He said, why you take a stray like me out on the sea? I said, son, the ocean's a lonesome, you can crew with me. Said you'll learn to cast the net and read the swell. A fisherman can raise you well. That's the fisherman's net, that's the fisherman's net. No better, better yet, that's the fisherman's net. One net, one net, one boat, one boy, one boy, I float one day at sea, at sea, at sea, at sea. That boy grew up a captain with a trawler of his own. The sea craft and the kindness that old Tully had shown. When Tully's hands grew weak, the boy, he took him on. Fished for both of them daily till the old man's strength was gone. He buried Tully proper out where the great gulls cry, scattered him upon the water neath the wide and weeping sky. Now he pulls the straits from the pier when the times are rough. A fisherman's net of kindness, the catch is love and love. He said, why you take a stray like me out on the sea? I said, son, the ocean's a lonesome, you can't crew with me. Said you learn to cast the net and read the swell. A fisherman can raise you well. That's the fisherman's net, that's the fisherman's net. No better, better yet, that's the fisherman's net. Tully's ashes ride the harbor tide, and the boy, he captains with the man as guide. Pulling in the strays, paying off the debt, carrying on the love of the fisherman's net. Joby dug the graves at the cemetery on the rise. 40 years of shovels under gray and weeping skies. He'd sing over the digging at the 7 in the morning, a hymn for every soul, the loved and the forlorn. There's a pauper's row out yonder where the nameless ones are laid, the forgotten and the homeless that the world had never paid. Joby sang the loudest there where the markers had no name. Said a soul without a mourner still deserves the same. Some grave diggers give grace to the ones with no embrace. They said, why you sing so sweet for the ones nobody knows? I said, every soul that's buried deserves a song that goes. Said I hum them down to rest with a tune and a tear. A tune and a tear. The gravedigger keeps them near. That's the gravedigger's song. That's the gravedigger's song. Where they belong. That's the gravedigger's song. Joby learned the names of the nameless when he could. To carve little wooden crosses out of scraps of wood. He'd say a few words over the ones who came along. The drifters and the strangers buried under stone. Said my own daddy died a pauper in a county hole. No song and no marker for his weary, worthy soul. So I sing for all the forgotten, I give them what he lacked. A gravedigger's hymn to bring the lost ones back. Some gravediggers give grace to the ones with no embrace. Sing so sweet for the ones nobody knows. I said every soul that's buried deserves a song that goes. A song that goes. Said I hum them down to rest with a tune Gravedigger keeps them near.
That's the Gravedigger song.
Hey,
That's the Gravedigger song.
where they belong.
That's the Gravedigger song. One grave, one cross,
One cross,
one hymn,
for lost,
for lost,
one soul,
one soul,
sung home,
sung home,
sung home.
one soul, one hymn.
A young man came to the cemetery looking for his kin. A father he had lost to the streets and to the gin. Joby led him to the paupers row into a wooden cross. Said, I'll sing your daddy down, son, I honor this loss. The young man wept to know his father wasn't thrown away, that a gravedigger had sung him to his rest that day. Ooh, now that young man helps Joe carve the crosses for the lost, singing down the nameless, never counting up the cost. They said, why you sing
So sweet,
for the ones
nobody knows.
I said every soul that's buried deserves a song that goes.
Said I hum them down to rest.
With a tune, a tear, a gravedigger keeps them near.
Gravedigger song.
That's the
That's the Gravedigger song.
where they belong.
That's the Gravedigger song.
Joe he passed and they sang him down,
The whole of the grateful,
weeping town
and the young man carves the crosses.
carries on, forever singing
The Gravedigger song.
Miss Plum, she ran the library on the square of Bell. 40 years of quiet and the stories there to tell. Came a man at the 2 o'clock with his hat down low. Said, ma'am, I got a secret that I'm afraid to show. He said, I'm 47 and I never learned to read. Lost my whole life hiding it, a shame I couldn't lead. Miss Plum, she closed the book she held and pulled a chair up near. So sit down, mister, we'll begin. There's nothing to fear. Some cards unlock a mind, some cards unlock a mind. Some teachers are that kind. He said, why you teach a grown man what a child should know? I said, mister, it's never too late to learn and grow. Said we'll start with simple letters A and B and C. A library card can set you free. That's the library card. That's the library card. Learning ain't hard. That's the library card. Miss Plum, she met him weekly when the library had closed. Taught him all the letters and the words that they composed. He been hiding it for decades, faking through his life. Couldn't read a menu or a letter from his wife. Slowly all the squiggles turned to words upon the page. A whole new world of stories opened up the cage. He read his first whole sentence and he wept there in the chair. A man unlocked by a teacher who was patient, kind, and fair. Some cars unlock a mind, some cars unlock a mind. Some teachers are that kind. They said, why you teach a grown man what a child should know? I said, mister, it's never too late to learn and grow, to learn and grow. Said we'll start with simple letters A and B and C. A library card can set you free. up to his children, watched his confidence revive. He came back to the library with a book that he had penned, his own life story written from the shame to the men. He dedicated it to Miss Plum, who taught him how to see, the teacher who unlocked the words and set a grown man free. Now he tutors others who are hiding like he hid, a library card of kindness for the shame they always slid. He said, why you teach a grown man what a child should know? I said, mister, it's never too late to learn and grow, to learn and grow. So we'll start with simple letters A and B and C. A library card can set you free. That's the library card. That's the library card. Learning ain't hard. That's the library card. Woo. Miss Plum, she passed, and the library stands with his book on the shelf for the searching hands. And he tutored the hiding ones, the star, carrying on the gift of the library card. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, Webb Hall, the lobster pots off the rocks of Salt Harbor Bay. 60 years of trap since he was a boy at play. His son beside him now at the 443, pulling up the catch from the cold and rolling sea. Webb said, this is my last season, my hands they're giving out. Time to pass the boat to you, son, that's what it's all about. He said, daddy, I ain't ready, I can't fill your boots. The old man smiled, said you was born to it, you got the roots. Some boats get handed down from the gray to the brown. He said, daddy, how I do it when you ain't here to guide. I said, son, the sea will teach you, I'll be there inside. I'll be there inside. Said you pull the pots at dawn and you read the tide. A lobster boat and a father's pride. That's the lobster boat. That's the lobster boat. That's the lobster boat, keeping us afloat. That's the lobster boat. Webby taught his son the last of all he knew, where the lobsters hide and how to read the morning blue. Said your granddad fished these waters and his daddy long before. 5 generations pulling pots off the rocky shore. He marked the secret ledges where the biggest catches lay. Said the boat is more than lumber, son, it's everything I'll say. They haul the pots together in the cold of the last fall. A father and a son and a boat to hold it all. Some boats get handed down from the gray to the brown. He said, daddy, how I do it when you ain't here to guide. I said, son, the sea will teach you, I'll be there inside. I'll be there inside. Said you pull the pots at dawn and you raid the tide. A lobster boat and a father's pride. That's the lobster boat. That's the lobster boat. That's the lobster boat, keeping us afloat. That's the lobster boat. One boat, one sun, one sea, hard one trade sails on. Woo! Well, he passed that winter, and they scattered him at sea. Off the rocks of Salt Harbor, where he'd always longed to be. His son, he hauls the pots now at the 443, feeling his old daddy in the salt and in the breeze. He's teaching his own boy now where the biggest lobsters hide. 6 generations pulling with the father at their side. The boat advanced served the lunches in the school on Marigold. 40 years of trades for the hungry and the cold. She spot the kids at the noon o'clock with no money for the meal. The ones who stood there empty with a shame they couldn't heal. She said, come on through the line, baby, you don't need a dime. The card machine is broken, that's the story every time. She'd punch a little secret so the poor ones never knew. A lunch lady feeding pride along with the stew. Some trays come with grace and a way to save a face. They said, be the books don't balance, you keep feeding for free. I said, let them dock my paycheck, a child's gotta eat with me. Said no kid stands hungry while the others fill their plate. A warm lunch shouldn't have to wait. That's lunch, Lady Bea. That's lunch, Lady Bea. Feeding them free. That's lunch, Lady Bea. Bea, she paid the lunch debt from her own thin little purse. The $1.50 trays for the kids whose homes were worse. She knew them all by first name, knew which ones came lean. The quiet, hungry children that the world had never seen. Said I went to school hungry in the long and bitter past. A lunch lady saw my empty and she fed me at the last. So I feed them all the same now, the rich kid and the poor. A lunch lady's quiet mercy at the cafeteria door. Some trays come with grace, some trays come with grace, and a way to save a face. Oh, they said, be the books don't balance, you keep feeding for free. I said, let them dock my paycheck, a child's gotta eat with me. Said no kid stands hungry while the others fill their plate. A warm lunch shouldn't have to wait. That's lunch, Lady Bea. That's lunch, Lady Bea. Feeding them free. That's lunch, Lady Bea. One tray, one line, one kid, fine. One lady, paid it. One tray, one line, one tray. Woo! Kids grew up and they never once forgot the lunch lady who fed them when their bellies tied a knot. One came back a teacher at the school on Marigold. Found old Bea still serving though her hair had turned to gold. He started up a fund so no child's lunch comes due. Paid off all the debt that Bea had carried through. Now the school feeds every child, no money and no shame. A lunch lady's old kindness living on inside his name. They said, be the books don't balance, you keep feeding for free. I said, let them dock my paycheck, a child's gotta eat with me. Said no kid stands hungry while the others fill their plate. A warm lunch shouldn't have to wait. That's lunch, Lady Bea. That's lunch, Lady Bea. Feeding them free. That's lunch, Lady Bea. Bea, she passed and the lunchroom's bright. Free for every child, day and night. The teacher keeps the fun, the guarantee, carrying on the heart of lunch, Lady Bea. Ran the milk route in the grate before the day. 40 years of bottles at the 6 and on his way. He knew a house on Sumter where the times had got so tight. A mama and her children with no milk to make it right. He started leaving extra at the door before the dawn. A bottle and a butter and a kindness gently drawn. She said, Hollis, I can't pay for all this milk you leave. He said, ma'am, the dairy's generous. Just let your children grieve, no grief. Some routes deliver more. Some routes deliver more than the bottles at the door. She said, why you leave the extra when my tab is running late? I said, ma'am, your kids need calcium. They're growing at a rate. Said, I'll set it on your stoop in the morning gray. A milkman feeds them on his way. That's the milkman's round. That's the milkman's round. Where kindness is found. That's the milkman's round. Hollis covered the tab from his own thin little pay. 85 a month, so the children drank each day. He said, I grew up on the milk that a kind man used to leave. When my own mama struggled and had no way to relieve. He'd whistle down the street in the early morning chill, leaving milk and butter and a love that paid the bill. The mama left him cookies and a note of thanks so warm. A milkman and a family weathering the storm. Some routes deliver more. Some routes deliver more. The bottles at the door. She said, why you leave the extra when my tab is running late? I said, ma'am, your kids need calcium. They're growing at a rate. I said, I'll set it on your stoop in the morning gray. A milkman feeds them on his way. That's the milkman's round. That's the milkman's round. Where kindness is found. That's the milkman's round. One bottle, one stoop, one mom, one group, one round. Brought love, brought love. Them children grew up strong on the milk that Hollis gave. One became a doctor and a life that he could save. She came back to the old route where the milkman used to roll. Found out he'd paid the tab for years out of his own soul. She funds a milk program now for the children running short, so no kid grows up hungry for the calcium they are. Hollis taught a lesson that the bottles always told. A milkman found a kindness worth a fortune more than gold. She said, why you leave it extra when my tab is running late? I said, ma'am, your kids need calcium. They're growing at a rate. Said, I'll set it on your stoop in the morning gray. A milkman feeds them on his way. That's the milkman's round. That's the milkman's round. Where kindness is found. That's the milkman's round. Hollis passed and the root is gone, but the milk program, heat spark rolls on. Feeding the children safe and sound. Carrying on the milkman's round. Cyrus walk on, yeah. Cyrus walked the lumberyard from the dusk until the day. 40 years of flashlight on the stacks and on the clay. Found a boy at the 2 in the morning, curled beneath the tarp, shivering and hungry with a hunger shark. He says, son, this ain't no place to sleep. The nights get cold and mean. The boy said, mister, I got nowhere I'm just barely 17. Cyrus didn't call the law, he just shed his thermos tea. Said your bunk here in the office, son, you're safe enough with me. Some watchmen guard a heart, some night shifts do their part. He said, why you let me stay when you could turn me out? I said, son, I know the code and what the lonely's all about. Said, just sleep here in the warm and we'll figure out the day. A watchman keeps the lost ones safe till May. That's the night watchman. That's the night watchman. Oh, God and the lost man. That's the night watchman. Cyrus brought the boy a blanket and a sandwich every night. Let him sleep inside the office where the heater glowed so bright. Said, I had a son your age for the fever took him young. I see him in your weary eyes and the songs you left unsung. He helped the boy find work at the lumber yard come spring. Taught him how to stack and saw and the worth of everything. Said, you ain't astray no longer, son, you got a place to be. A watchman and a lost boy made a little family. Some watchmen got a heart, some watchmen got a heart, some night shifts do their part. He said, why you let me stay when you could turn me out? I said, son, I know the code and what the lonely's all about. Said, just sleep here in the warm and we'll figure out the day. A watchman keeps the lost ones safe till May. That's the night watchman. That's the night watchman. Oh, God and the lost man. That's the night watchman. One yard, one light, one boy. Through night, one man. Took him in. That boy grew up and he ran the lumber yard one day. Cyrus old beside him in the easy golden way. He never once forgot the night the watchman took him in. The thermos and the blanket and the second chance to begin. When old Cyrus passed away, the boy he wept and swore he'd keep the office warm for the lost ones evermore. Now there's a cot and a heater for the strays out in the cold. A watchman's old compassion that the lumber yard still hold. He said, why you let me stay when you could turn me out? I said, son, I know the code and what the lonely's all about. Said, just sleep here in the warm and we'll figure out the day. A watchman keeps the lost ones safe till May. That's the night watchman. That's the night watchman. Oh, God and the lost man. That's the night watchman. Cyrus passed in the yard, kept the cot warm for the strays in the lonely light. And the boy keeps watch now, the kindest plan, carrying on the heart of the night watchman. Oh, do, 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 oh, yeah. Opal worked the switchboard in the town of Cherryville. 40 years of plugging lines and the calls that would not fail. Came a ring at the 213, a soldier far from home. Said, operator, connect me, my mama's all alone. He says she's dying in the county and I'm a world away. I just wanna hear her voice before she passes on today. Opal worked her cables, found the line out to the ward, connected a dying mama to the son that she adored. Some operators care, some plug a final prayer. He said, operator, show. That switchboard opal, that switchboard opal, connecting the global. That's switchboard opal. Opal kept the line humming, though the rule said cut it short. A long distance charge that the boy could never sort. She paid it from her own purse, the 85 it cost, so her son could say he's sorry and her mama not be lost. She heard him through the cables, the I love you and goodbye, the kind of holy moment that can make a stranger cry. She unplugged it soft and gentle when the mama's voice was gone. A switchboard girl connecting love that carried on. Some operators care, some plug a final prayer. He said, operator, can you reach her? I'll pay whatever's due. I said, soldier, hold the line, son, I'll connect you through. Said your mama's gonna hear for she has to go. A switchboard love that the cable show. That switchboard opal, that switchboard opal, connecting the global. That's switchboard opal. One plug, one plug, one plug, one line, one sun, in time, one mile. Her love. That soldier came back home from the war across the sea, went to find the operator who had said his goodbye free. He found old Opal plugging at the switchboard, worn and gray. Said you let me reach my mama on a final day. Tried to pay the 85, but she just waved her hand. Said, son, connecting love is why I man this little stand. Now there's a fund in Opal's name for the cause the poor can't make. A switchboard girl's old kindness for the dying loved ones' sake. He said, operator, can you reach it? I'll pay whatever's due. I said, soldier, hold the line, son, I'll connect you through. Said your mama's gonna hear for she has to go. A switchboard love that the cable show. That switchboard opal, that switchboard opal, connecting the global. That's switchboard opal. Opal passed and the switchboard's gone, but the fun she started carries on. Connecting the dying to the love, the noble, forever plugging in like switchboard opal. Sat there dying in the ward at 92, a veteran of a war that only he was living through. He called the nurse at the 405 with a tremble in his hand. Said, write a letter for me to a love I understand. My Eleanor's been gone now near on 20 lonely years, but I never said the things to her that I'm saying through these tears. The nurse, she took the pen up and she wrote the words he gave. A last letter to a woman waiting past the grave. Some letters cross the veil, some letters cross the veil, some love won't ever fail. Oh, he said, dear Eleanor, I'm coming, I'll be home real soon. I said, go on, soldier, tell her by the light of the moon. Said, I'm sorry for the silence and the words I never gave. The last letter for a love so brave. That's the last letter. Ooh, that's the last letter. Nothing could be better. That's the last letter. He told her about the dances in the day they said I do, the children that they raised. and the hard times they came through. He said, I should have told you daily what your love had meant. 43 good years, and I took them and I went. The nurse, she wiped her eyes as the old man spoke his heart. A confession and a love letter that death could never part. He signed it with a shaking hand, yeah, Harold Evermore. A soldier riding homeward to the one gone on before. Some letters cross the veil. Some letters cross the veil. Some love won't ever fail. Some love won't ever fail. He said, dear Eleanor, I'm coming. I'll be home real soon. I said, go on, soldier. Tell her I by the light of the moon. Said, I'm sorry for the silence and the words I never gave. The last letter for love so brave. That's the last letter. Ooh, that's the last letter. Nothing could be better. That's the last letter. One page, one page, one page, one day, one age, one day, one love. Sent on. Old Harold passed that evening with the letter on his chest. The nurse, she read it over him and laid the man to rest. She tucked it in his jacket where his heart had finally stilled, so he'd carry it to Eleanor, his final wish fulfilled. At the funeral, she told again of the words their daddy penned, the sorries and the love letters a soldier sends his friend. Now that nurse, she writes the letters for the dying and alone, so no love goes unspoken on the journey to the home. He said, dear Eleanor, I'm coming. I'll be home real soon. I said, go on, soldier. Tell her by the light of the moon. Said, I'm sorry for the silence and the words I never gave. The last letter for a love so brave. Ooh, that's the last letter. Nothing could be better. That's the last letter. Harold's with his Eleanor, the long years done. The letter delivered past the setting sun, and the nurse writes song for the lonely, the bedwetter, carrying on with the grace of the last letter. Yeah, Marge, she worked the toll booth on the turnpike east of town. 40 years of quarters and the windows rolling down. Started something quiet at the 805 one day, paying for the stranger in the car behind the pay. She said, I got the next one, just tell them when they're through. $1 of a kind is like a bolt out of the blue. The driver looked bewildered, said, why you doing this? Marge just smiled and waved him on, said, pass along the bliss. Some tolls get paid ahead, some kindness rolls instead. He said, why you pay my toll when you don't know my name? I said, mister, that's the point of it. The strangers are the same. Strangers are the same. Said you pay it forward down the line to the next. A chain of giving, simple and unvexed. That's toll booth Marge. That's toll booth Marge. Kindness at large. That's toll booth Marge. Folks, they caught the fever and the chain, it grew so long. 40 cars one morning, paying tolls and singing song. Marge, she started something that the turnpike never knew. A river of the giving in the early morning dew. She kept a roll of dollars that she'd spend on the bro. The truckers and the mamas and the down and out folks. Said, my my daddy paid my way once when I had not a dime. A toll booth full of kindness, 1/4 at a time. Some tolls get paid ahead, some kindness rolls instead. He said, why you pay my toll when you don't know my name? I said, mister, that's the point of it. The strangers all the same. Strangers all the same. Said you pay it forward down the line to the next. A chain of giving, simple and unvexed. That's toll booth Marge. That's toll booth Marge. Kindness at large. That's toll booth Marge. One toll, one lane, one chain. No name, no name. One booth spread wide. When Marge retired the turnpike to a celebration grand, drivers she had blessed came from all across the land. Told her how a paid-for toll had turned their whole day around. How $1 of a kindness was the sweetest thing they found. One man said, you paid my toll when I was at the end it all. A stranger's tiny mercy made me turn back from the fall. Marge, she wept to hear it, said you never ever know what $1 at a toll booth and a wave of love can grow. He said, why you pay my toll when you don't know my name? I said, mister, that's the point of it. The strangers all the same. Strangers all the same. Said you pay it forward down the line to the next. A chain of giving, simple and unvexed. That's toll booth Marge. That's toll booth Marge. Kindness at large. That's toll booth Marge. Woo, Marge, she passed, but the chain rolls on. Pay for tolls from dusk to dawn. Strangers blessing strangers. No discharge, forever giving. Like toll booth Marge. Coach Buck here in the gym at the school on Ridgeway Hill. 40 years of whistles and the boys he tried to fill. Came a kid at the 315 with a chip and a scowl. No daddy and a temper and a future looking foul. He said, coach, I don't need nothing, I'm just here cause they made me. Bucky tossed him a basketball, said, son, let's see what you'll be. Said, you got fire in you, boy, let's aim it at the rim. A coach and an angry kid and a whistle on a whim. Some whistles call you home. Some coaches won't let you roam. He said, why you bother with a kid who don't care? I said, son, I see the hurt that you're trying not to wear. Trying not to. Said you're on the court with me and we'll burn the rage. A coach can turn a brand new page. That's the coach's whistle. That's the coach's whistle. Sharp as a thistle. That's the coach's whistle. Bucky kept that kid after practice every day. Taught him how to channel all the anger into play. Said I was an angry boy myself when my own daddy left. A coach put a whistle around my neck and saved me from the theft. He fed the kid on game nights, drove him home through the dark. Showed him that a man can build instead of leaving a mark. The kid, he made the team and then he made the honor roll. A coach's steady whistle blowing life into a soul. Some whistles call you home. Call you home. Some coaches won't let you roam. He said, why you bother with a kid who don't care? I said, son, I see the hurt that you're trying not to wear. Said you're on the court with me and we'll burn the rage. A coach
the coach's whistle.
That's the coach's whistle.
Sharp as a thistle. That's the coach's whistle.
One whistle, one chord, one kid, last resort.
One coat.
Stay late, yeah, yeah, yeah. That kid grew up and he wore a coaching whistle too. At the school on Ridgeway Hill where old Buck once blew. He takes the angry boys, the ones with no one in the stands. Puts a basketball and a future in their restless hands. When old Buck passed away, the whole town filled the gym. Players he had saved all came to honor him. Now the kid blows the whistle for the lost and the unscored. A coach's old salvation that the boys cannot afford.
Why you bother with a kid who don't care?
Say, son, I see the hurt that you're trying not to wear.
Not to.
Said you run the court with me and we'll burn the rage. A coach can turn a brand new page.
That's the coach's whistle.
That's the coach's whistle.
That's a thistle. That's the coach's whistle.
Bucky passed and they hung his whistle high in the gym where the angry boys learn to fly. And the kid coaches on the lost one's epistle, carrying